Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. According to research, when it comes to assigning blame for estrangement between parents and adult children, parents and children have very different tendencies. Parents tend to blame external factors such as divorce or other relationships, whereas adult children overwhelmingly place the blame on the personal, negative characteristics of their parents. That's what comes up in the research. And that's also my experience as a therapist who's worked with both estranging adult children and rejected parents. This understanding of the causes of estrangement is obviously a mismatch, except for one thing. Both attributions place responsibility for the state of the relationship elsewhere. Parents who are certain, for instance, that a third party is poisoning their child against them naturally feel powerless to do anything about that. And adult children who perceive a lack of support or acceptance from their parents feel powerless to change that. Both parents and children throw up their hands and say, if only things were different. But what can I do? I didn't cause this, and so I can't fix it. Well, I don't think it's true that you can't fix something you didn't cause. I once witnessed a senseless misunderstanding between two of my friends, and it escalated to the point where they weren't talking to each other. I wasn't involved in the misunderstanding, but I saw what was happening, and I knew these were both good people, and that the trouble between them was caused by this unfortunate miscommunication. So I intervened. And fortunately, they were both reasonable enough to listen. They quickly made up, both of them apologized, and they went on to continue a good relationship. I was not to blame for what had happened between them, and it wasn't my responsibility to fix it. But because I could, I took the responsibility to do something about what was happening, for the good of all concerned. If you don't like what's happening around you, you have the option to try to do the same thing. Now, in my case, I was able to foster goodwill between two people by assuring both of them that there had been a misunderstanding. In doing that, I didn't violate anyone's privacy or act against anyone's wishes. Both of them wanted to repair the relationship, and both appreciated the intervention. If your taking responsibility won't help everyone involved in ways they'll appreciate, you might need to rethink your plan to intervene. But taking responsibility to repair the parent-child relationship will potentially help both of you. People who estrange themselves from family feel that they're doing that as a last resort. They don't do it because it's fun or pleasant or even easy. If you can relieve your child of the sense of having to keep her distance by making changes to the relationship you share, you'll be helping her as well as yourself. It's important to look at this as making changes rather than as taking steps to try to force her somehow to reconcile while everything else stays the same. Pushing for closeness when your child feels that she has reason to seek distance may help you feel better about things in the short term, but it won't help your child until her reasons for seeking distance have been addressed. And usually that means making some changes. Taking responsibility for those changes is not the same thing as taking the blame. Blame is punitive. It's designed to shame you, but it doesn't inspire action. You're just supposed to feel bad and wrong, and that's the whole purpose of blame. Responsibility, on the other hand, is constructive and intentional. Once somebody is able to respond, that person becomes response-able or responsible. And now we have liftoff. At last, someone is going to take the helm and attempt to steer the ship toward a safe harbor. That's what it means to take responsibility for the state of your relationship with your child. It's an act not of contrition or shame, but of intention. The person who not only wants to see changes in the relationship, but also feels the most capable of making an impact is the one who is responsible for trying to fix things. You might be questioning your ability to have an impact, especially if you feel like the estrangement is based on something that's outside your control. But don't forget that you are a parent, and as such, you have the de facto ability to influence the person or people you raised for the rest of your life. You are more able to respond and make changes than you may realize. In future episodes of this podcast, I'll share lots of things you can do and try to mend fences with your estranging child. All of them can be found, by the way, inside the Reconnection Club at reconnectionclub.com. But in order to utilize any tools or advice you receive, you must be willing to assume the responsibility to do so in the first place. I assure you that without this step, without being willing to take on responsibility, your chances of enjoying your relationship with your child for the rest of your life are left to chance. So you don't have to take the blame for the state of things, but if you want this relationship to improve and evolve, you've got to take the responsibility for creating that outcome. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.